Hello, and welcome to Real Person Reviews. I'm Sam, and I'm a real person. And today I want to talk to you about Conker's Bad Fur Day. Again. And again. Now, I know I've already talked about the original game on the N64 here twice. So we're not really talking that much about that. What I want to go over here are, Conker Live and Reloaded, which I actually played on the Xbox One through the backwards compatibility stuff and whatever, but that's the game. I'm playing that. And I also played through Conker's Bad Fur Day on Rare Replay as well. So we're talking about both of these. And this is mostly going to be sort of a comparison piece between the two and the original, seeing what version is going to be good for what purpose or whatever. I just thought it would be interesting to do, and since I was playing through Rare Replay anyways, and I'd gotten Live and Reloaded for free with the Games with Gold thing, I ended up just being like, well, why not? Let's just do those both into one thing, since I don't know if there's enough necessarily to make them separate things anyways. There might have been, because of how long this is, but yeah, the main things are looking at those, and also looking at the multiplayer of both of those, since I know even in the original game I didn't really look at that enough, so a little chance to redeem myself here. So hopefully some of the footage and stuff will line up okay and be interesting. We'll see. That's other than written review in the description if you want to see that before or after instead, whatever, of the video. I think that's all we have to do for the preface, so let's just get on into it. So let's just start with the Rare Replay version, since that's pretty much just the N64 version of the game, but on Xbox One, I guess. It's, I guess you call it more of a remaster, if anything. They've taken out a few of the Nintendo references, like there's no like Conker, taking out the N64 logo with the chainsaw. There's no presented by Nintendo thing or whatever. Those are gone, which makes sense. But you'll notice that the stuff, while I think it's all the same assets and everything, it feels very cleaned up. For like the visuals there's still like blurriness and like some jagginess to it, but it's all a lot more up-resed and more crisp than the original. There's also less motion blur, I've noticed. Which is interesting. I don't know if that was caused by the engine being like not having enough power or what. It is still, it is still in 4:3 aspect ratio though, because again, I think they just took the same stuff and just like made it run better because it's a more powerful thing, and also text is a lot easier to read. And also again, with that extra power, it runs at a smooth frame rate, which means that it's okay, so like there's a lot of places where it would like slow down, but it doesn't do that here, which is generally good, except for it does change the timing a little bit in some of the cutscenes. Some of the timing is kind of built on the idea that it'll be only so fast because of the N64 hardware, and since this is much more powerful, it runs appropriately and can't take advantage of the lag that would have been introduced, so it does change that. Not a huge thing, it's not a big deal, but it is noticeable for the pacing of a few things. They also they changed the icons for the buttons to correspond to the controller, but all the voice lines and stuff are the same. So like they might say a button that isn't the button you're hitting, and that's okay. Or they'll say like the context things, like, oh, hit B, but you can hit X or B to do them. That's kind of interesting, I guess. Also, they cleaned up the audio too, which is I think it's probably just higher quality versions of the same audio. I'm assuming they just had like the masters around, and so they just use those at a higher quality rather than a reduced quality to make it fit onto an N64 cartridge. I'm guessing that's more or less what they did, but I don't know for sure. Similar thing with like the music and stuff, though the music had a glitch in it. This is probably the only thing that's actually like an issue with this version, is that the music, every once in a while when I would pause, the music would persist, and then I would unpause, and then you would hear like a second thing of that music start up and overlap with itself. It only happened a few times, but it's weird that it happened at all. I don't know. It is a thing. It can happen. And also because because it's it's more responsive because of the lessening of the lag, because this thing runs properly. It actually plays a little bit better. For a lot, most of the game is not even that noticeable. Just sometimes you're trying to do stuff, Conker does it right away rather than like waiting an extra sec. So you'll kind of notice that. And in the last fight, I also noticed it as well. Like the final battle was easier here than it was in the original game because it was just a little bit more responsive. It was still hard, but it didn't feel as ridiculously hard. It felt like a little less hard. So that was, there's not a whole lot necessarily to say for this. Like, it's easier to see underwater and stuff with less motion blur. Just it looks nicer, it runs nicer. You can play it on modern displays and stuff. It's got a lot of those like slight tweaks, like a remaster would have. But honestly, it is pretty much just the N64 game, running on more powerful hardware and upscaled a bit with a modern controller. That's about it. The biggest change you're gonna have to deal with is like playing with the controller. That's it. So if you really want to know more about this one, just go to one of the previous Conker's Bad Fur Day reviews that I've done, and you'll more or less hear about it. Now, I also wanted to talk about the multiplayer, because in the original game, I actually didn't really play it all that much or talk about it all that much. And I really wanted to, because I think there's a lot going on here that I really didn't appreciate the first time going through. I don't want to get too super detailed on this or anything, but I want to go through the modes and stuff just so you get an idea of what I mean here. So, there's Deathmatch, which is just like a free-for-all. I think it has a bunch of different, there's just a bunch of different modes, lots of the most maps and stuff to pick from, but it's a standard free-for-all deathmatch thing. Total War is basically like a deathmatch also, and it's like a team deathmatch, and you also, with the added thing of there's like this gas bomb that you can take from I think it's in the enemy base, and then you bring it to the sewers, and then anybody who doesn't have a gas mask or isn't in the sewers, it dies. And then Colors is a capture the flag thing with 2 flags. You're just trying to capture each other's flag. Beach. If you're playing, this is asymmetrical one. If you're playing as the Teddies, you have to kill all of the people trying to flee across the border before they get into the base, and you're stuck within the upper areas of the base with only a few weapons. The Villagers, if you're playing as one of them, is that their whole goal is just to get into one of those openings in the base, and you have to run across. There are some adrenaline pills you can pick up to go faster, and there's also a switch. If somebody can get to the switch on top of the hill, it'll do an explosion inside the base, and everybody will be dead and have to respawn, so you give you a little time for people to run across, and just whoever hits the score wins usually. There's a tank, which is a free-for-all battle just in tanks, and you got power-ups like a shield and missiles and stuff. And there's also a gas bomb in the middle, where if you take that, you can bring that back to one of the little bases or whatever, and hide out in there, and then it'll go off after a few seconds, and anyone not back inside of one of those bases in time will just die. Heist is one where you can do it either as 4 single teams, 4 single people, or 4 teams of 2, duos, all different colored. And basically the idea is you go into the middle of the map, grab the money bag, bring it back to the appropriately colored vault, and do that the most to win. And if anybody gets hit, that knocks the bag away. So, and it starts to move back to the center on its own. So that's the kind of the thing with that. Raptor is another asymmetric one where you can either play as cavemen or raptors. And like the raptors, basically, they're really fast and they're pretty strong. But only things they can really do are like do like a running like ram attack and then like grab people with their mouth. That's mostly what they can do, and they can jump, I guess. They'll get 1 point for killing a caveman, and they'll get 2 points. Basically, they'll get 1 point for incapacitating one and picking it up in your mouth. I think. Basically, no. Basically, it's you get what the point is. You get a point for killing a caveman. You get 2 points if you can take it and bring it back to the baby in the nest. So I think once it's still like in your mouth, it doesn't necessarily count as being dead yet. I don't think. I just don't remember specifically on that little area of it. If it counts before you take the final like thing to kill him or not, I don't remember. The cavemen are trying to grab the raptor eggs from the nest and bring it back to a frying pan on their side. So they'll get 1 point for killing a raptor, and they'll get 2 points for bringing an egg back. But you can only have like 2 raptors max. You can have like a lot more cavemen. So that's also kind of interesting about it. Also, there's a race, which is just a race, like it says. The same track as a single-player mode. Race A is the one-way, like the first lap ones, and then race B is like the final lap ones or whatever when the gate moves. So you can do that. But it also has power-ups now. You can have a lot more people there. So, more or less like that. Also, there's no dinosaur walking through in the multiplayer version. And actually, those are all the modes, and actually you can tweak those modes a bit too, because all of them, you can change the AI difficulty, but you can limit it by things like, how much time do you have, how many lives do you have, what is the score you have to hit, and the balance of how many players on each side and whatnot. So between all of those things, you actually get a lot of diversity out of it. And I think it's also just kind of crazy looking at this, because this isn't just some like extra thing tacked on last minute. It doesn't feel like there's already so much in the main single player game. Having this much put into the multiplayer here, like, this is why I really wanted to talk about this. Like, the amount of detail, the amount of like how like these different mechanics and different maps and like little cutscenes and stuff, things that are unique to the multiplayer that aren't even from the main game. That's pretty crazy. I'm actually pretty impressed going back and actually checking these out. I think if you were playing with people, it would be a lot of fun. I think that, like, even with bots, it's not terribly bad. I mean, like, mileage will vary, but also just the forward thinking to, like, have bots in the game, I think was really cool. So the idea that, like, even if you were by yourself, or if you were playing with other people, but you wanted to be more populated, you could have all these bots play with you as well. And I'm just really impressed with it, and that's why I really, really wanted to include this as part of this review also, because I feel like I didn't give it enough credit in the other 2 reviews that I did, sadly, because I didn't play it that much, and it was with bots. And I don't think I really gave it the proper respect. So it's not like it's perfect, it's not like it's amazing or anything, and I'm sure if they made just a dedicated multiplayer game based on these kind of things, it would be even better than this. They would really fine-tune it and tweak it more. But for something that's like an extra thing to throw on here from having multiplayer on something that was primarily built around the single-player experience, and having them both be like this, like detailed and have this much care put into them, I'm really, really impressed. And it really deserves being looked at, especially again with the tweaking of different settings and stuff to make it different. Like, is it going to be a survival thing or a race to the score, or is it just like to see what you can do in the time limit kind of thing? How even do you want it to be? Just there's a lot here, and it deserves some recognition. All right, so Conker Live and Reloaded. This is the one where there's I think a lot more to say. Because interesting that this is actually older than the Rare Replay version, but is totally redone, even though it was on the Xbox. The original Xbox. So, this is basically the same game, and as far as I can tell, or as far as I know, I think it is based on the original assets, which is why it keeps the 4:3 aspect ratio, but it just really edits them a lot and tries to build out from what was already there so that everything can be very accurate and close to the original in a lot of ways. even though so much of it is so different. The visuals are going to be the biggest thing, the biggest difference you'll notice, where there's just so much more detail in everything. Things are just like visuals. It's a lot more populated. It's a lot more colorful. There's so many details in what you're looking at because it has the power to do that. In fact, even for like an Xbox game, for the original Xbox, I still think it looks pretty good. Even for original Xbox standards, it's pretty well detailed. So you'll notice that a lot, which I happen to like. Conker's redesign was a bit more colorful. I like that, even if he looks a little like a creepy teddy bear thing with the way the fur looks. But I think it works. They've added lots of fun little details in areas. Like one of the biggest visual changes I think is in the area before you get to the Count Batula stuff. Before you get to that castle, before you even go to the first area going into there, when it just first turns night and you go into that area, that's been overdone, overhauled. You actually get an outfit in there too, and it looks like a lot different, and it looks really good too. So it's really cool. So you'll notice that visuals mostly. That's a big one. Also, there are some additions here. They've kind of changed up the combat system a little, where now instead of just having a frying pan that you use, now you have a baseball bat, but you take the bat out, and you enter into a combat mode where you can the camera's more over the shoulder kind of. You have a 1-2-3 hit combo thing you can do to kill enemies. And they've also, which is it's faster once you have the bat out. It's faster than the startup frames on the pan anyway. But then there's a lot more enemies added in a lot of areas to compensate for this. They even added in this new weird baby zombie doll looking thing in a few spots. And some the hub world's been extended to include more spots of guys to fight than a lot of areas that normally were just kind of barren, didn't have anything there. They've thrown in some of these guys to fight along the way, so it feels like they're actually implementing the combat stuff a little bit more to kind of make it so it's not just a change to make that easier to do. And I mostly like it. It's not like it's necessarily all that deep or hard to do, but it does give you a little something to do in spots where otherwise you kind of couldn't do that. Camera is also greatly improved here. The ability to freely move the camera around the way you do, you have much better control over it, and it is such a treat. It also tracks you a lot better just automatically anyways. So overall, just those two parts of that camera are really, really good. Also, the gameplay is very tight. The control is even tighter than the original, which feels great. You don't have lag issues. There's no little stutter when you first if you fall off of a ledge and land. Usually when you would land, you'd have to have a little stutter before you could start moving again. They took that out. The swimming is much better for controls as well. It's a lot easier. It's a little weird to get used to the moving and strafing thing, but in the water or whatever. But once you get used to it, it's a lot easier, and you're also given a lot more air underwater as well. So it's not quite as frantic and desperate to get to places where you barely have enough air before you start dying there. And they've changed a few sections as well. Like I said, adding in some enemies and stuff, but also making some sections a little bit bigger, a little different. One of the things is the gunplay. Whenever you have a gun, they've reworked how that works. So you have the gun, it's more of a over the shoulder kind of thing. It's a little more zoomed in. And you can zoom and you can move, strafe and aim with the stick. You can jump. It's just it feels so much better to control. It's in the original it's always a chore to maneuver with the guns, and here it's so much fun. And they've also made the zombies killing zombie stuff. They've extended that so there's more zombies to fight, and also they've changed up so there's a few more teddies for you to fight in that section as well, in the war section. So that sounds like a bad thing when you hear it, but it's no, that's actually really good because it's actually fun to do it now. And so those parts are actually a lot of fun. That was probably the biggest surprise to me, is I couldn't believe they took these parts that I was dreading before, and now I'm well, I want to play those. Those are fun. I want to play those parts. I think for the most part, yeah, a lot of it. Like, there's also like the change, like with the bat, you don't when you're in the bat transformation, you don't get knocked down by getting hit anymore. And you also have like a little butthole cam for shitting on the dude's heads. I don't know if it's supposed to be somebody put a camera up there, if he has an eyeball up there or down there, or I don't know which way it entered. That might depend on the direction. The direction you use depends on how it was entered, I think, and what it is, maybe. But it's a neat idea. But that section seems a little bit harder. They've abridged a couple things, like there's no running or swimming under the water to get the eel to turn the power on before you start the war section. There's just a switch. They've also taken it, and like with the part before the Great Mighty Pooh, you only have to get one piece of corn in on each section instead of one and then two and then three, which I don't know why they bothered, because like it would have been easy enough to do with the new like combat mode to actually get all three, but I guess they're like you get the point, I guess. So it's not really here or there. But the Great Mighty Pooh is one of those things that we have to bring up here, where so there's like also a lot of voice lines re-recording and stuff. That's a thing that goes on here, and some lines are just the higher res versions of the originals, I think, while others are re-recorded to actually use the appropriate buttons you're going to be using. But also all the music, even you can't really tell. It's been redone with real instruments, but for the most part, I guess I didn't really notice it. But it's like lower in the mix. It was like that on a Rare Replay a bit too, but like for whatever reason, they're lower in the mix, so it's not as noticeable. Yeah, the Great Mighty Pooh section has you just, they re-recorded it so that the singing voice and speaking voice would be more similar, but I don't like either one quite as much as the original. And this is also where we have to bring up that it was censored. There's more, there's not an uncensored version of the game anywhere. The original still had censorship in it, but this one is more censored. And I think people are really upset about the Great Mighty Pooh song having censorship specifically, but it's in a lot of places. A lot of words were censored that were uncensored on the N64 version, so that's also kind of bizarre. It doesn't really take away from most of it, maybe a few jokes, but for most of it, it doesn't really matter. So like, it's not that big of a deal. I don't really care, but it is just kind of strange, and it's like, I don't know why they needed to do that when it was okay before, and now it's all of a sudden not. I don't know. Not really sure why that is. Also, another good change, though, is that when you're peeing, you can move while you're peeing now, and I can't tell you how huge that is. If you haven't played this game before, I mean, why are you listening to this review? I guess, but like, if you haven't like played, if you play the Rock Solid section, you know like that. This is huge. This is so helpful for that, right? So yeah, they've done a lot to make it control better, and it plays better. It's more fun. I think the only thing that was maybe worse, other than like some of the censorship stuff, which is kind of not really here or there, is the race section, where you're going through on like the lava jetboard caveman race. Only in Conker, it's harder to do that one because, like, I feel like it's harder to see things because it's almost, like, too detailed for how fast it goes. And it's like they've artificially added motion blur there to make it look like you're going faster. And it's just so hard. Even though I've played that before, I know what I'm doing. It's so hard to tell what's going on in there compared to the original one, even. And that's I think that's maybe the only section that was pretty much, like, more difficult. But the last boss is also, again, much easier. They're even kind enough to, like, put you, whenever you grab the tail of the boss, it'll put you automatically in the center of the room to start swinging it around, which is also very, very nice for them to do. And it's so much more fluid to play through that fight. So like everything in this game pretty much is just more fun. There's just feels like there's more stuff in it. They've made some stuff maybe a little easier, little additions here and there. And they've got like nice little counter for like, oh, here's if you got the money in this section or not, and whatever. Like there's lots of little like quality of life things in there, and yeah, this is just, I think they did a fantastic job remaking the main game. And Absolutely. Like, very, very few things to really complain about here. Now, Conker Live and Reloaded also has multiplayer, but it's not just redoing the multiplayer from the original. This multiplayer was built as all new multiplayer, totally new gameplay, pretty much, and it's actually was kind of designed to be for like, oh yeah, we'll do, you know, the basically it'll be like, oh yeah, we'll do this, and it'll be for using with Xbox Live so people can play together. They wanted to build it more for that. But you can't do that anymore. Those features aren't available at this point. But you can still play local, local co-op or versus, or I don't know even if the whole like multi-system LAN party hookup thing, if that kind of thing would even work anymore or not with multiple systems, but maybe. So I'm just gonna go through some of these. I'm going to go through some of the modes and stuff here, but basically I want to give you the gist is that this is based around being like a third-person shooter. So the controls aren't quite like they are in the single player, but they're a similar like feel for what you're doing with it. It's just things are kind of moved around on some of the buttons for like jumping and stuff, reloading and stuff, whatever. It's like there's a few presets you can do, just none of them are the same as the main game for whatever reason. In all these battles, a few things to keep in mind is that there are these different terminals you can go to for making vehicles or like special weapons or items appear, and that depends on depends on the map if you can make vehicles or not generally, and also and the item, whatever. It depends on the map and also depends on what class of character you are, because they're character classes, so you can switch those at any point while you're playing and kill your current character. But the classes are, there's a grunt, which is like a basic, soldier type with like a rifle and whatever. There's a sneaker, which is has like the ability to cloak themselves and also has a sword for like close range combat. The thermophile, which uses like a flamethrower and also can shoot acid out of it to do damage over time to enemies. There's a long ranger, which has a sniper. There's a demolisher, which has a rocket launcher. And then there's the sky jockey, which is mostly made for making the air vehicles. So that one actually isn't available at every level. On that one, sometimes if there aren't really much for vehicles in the level you're doing or whatever, then you usually just can't be a sky jockey. So for the levels and modes and whatever here, there's a Beach Dead, which and for all these you're either playing as the Squirrel High Command SHC or the Teddies. In Beach Dead, the HAC is storming the beach, and they're taking these checkpoints. Basically they're trying to destroy these barricades in order to ultimately get to the end and kill the boss at the end of the level. And the Teddies are trying to defend those checkpoints and the boss the entire time. So whoever succeeds in their goals within the time limit, or like basically the Teddies have to run out the clock, and you have to, and SHC have to get there before time runs out. Then there's Fortress Dew, which is capture the flag with 2 flags, and you can have more vehicles in this one. And that's pretty much it. It's pretty basic. Capture the flag. Whoever gets the amount of flags you need within the time limit or whatever wins. Then there's Castle von Teddystein, which is control points. So basically both sides are trying to capture and hold all these control points that you like step on, and then like it's yours, and then you have to stay on it. And if you control all the points long enough, then you win the match. Then a bridge too narrow moves into like this futuristic aesthetic of the war stuff. This like more like lasers and spaceships and stuff. It kind of moves in that kind of direction. This one is also basically another capture the flag with 2 flags. 3 Towers is again another tower control. Basically it's a similar thing as tower control. I guess it's not the same as a capture point, but pretty much there's just an area at the top of the tower you have to get to, and like it's just that these points are put on top of towers now instead of like just kind of out in these different other spots. And holding all the areas long enough, you'll win. Dune is another one where HHC is going to destroy checkpoints, and the Teddy's trying to defend the checkpoints. And then there's TMS Spamono, which is basically like a one flag capture the flag, one big hallway, and the idea is to you have to go into the middle of the map, get the item, then move it all the way to the side where the enemies are spawning, get it over there into their end of like, almost think of it as like a soccer game or something where you go and get it into their goal. That's basically the thing, and do that enough times to win. And then the last one is the ditch. Oh, I'm sorry. That's the one I was thinking of, was the ditch, wasn't it? Or is the ditch is just move flags to checkpoints. I didn't make a good enough note. I don't remember now off the top of my head on the ditch. Boy, this is embarrassing. This is how you can tell I'm not a professional reviewer. I think the ditch was actually... No, the ditch one, that one was different. That I did do those right. The ditch was... There are these flags all... Like, basically a flag will spawn, like, in... I believe it always spawns, like, in the middle of the map, I think? Basically, like, there's a flag, and then you have to take the flag and move it up to these different points that are up on the edges of the map. So you have to, like, follow the flag all the way until you get to the points where they have to each be put up on top of these towers, and whoever gets all their flags up there, or the most flags up there, wins. It's a very interesting flag thing. It's not even really capture the flag, it's like grabbing it and moving it. So that's not why it's not really capture the flag. And then for all of these, you can tweak settings like, like the computer difficulty, but you can because you can still play with bots, thankfully. Otherwise, I wouldn't be able to play any of these. It would be empty, and I would be playing with no one. And you can tweak the time and the number of lives and the score to make it easier or harder for yourself. So you still have some options for doing that. And there's also for like each level, you can look at the little story brief to be like, oh yeah, hey, here's like the story. There's actually like a story going on with like what's going on with these. It's not the best story. Not all of it really necessarily even adds up or makes a whole lot of sense, but there is a neat little like some story with like cutscene things happening, and depending on what side wins the battles, you'll get a little cutscene at the end of it as well. There's also a thing called Chapter X, which is a solo campaign. Basically, it's just those first 3 map scenarios that you should play through in order without being able to change any of the settings on them. They're just set settings, and then at the end of that, if you beat all of those, you'll get an extra, like, a new cinematic you won't get in the other places. That's more or less that. So, yeah, there is, once again, a ton of stuff here. The multiplayer plays really, really well. I'm sure it's even more fun with real people. It can be kind of hard for certain things. It's not always the most clear, and I think a lot of like the UI gets a little like cluttered, and I don't know what's going on. It's hard to get to the controls sometimes. There's also a power-up system too. They don't really like. Basically, what happens is it's not super clear, but like you see these little like things pop up from like when people die. If you grab those glowing orbs, you'll get your power-up thing. So like the grunt soldier guy, he'll get like a grenade launcher then if he picks one of those up until he dies, or like the thermophile gets like a laser thing that he can use if he picks one of those up. So like you get like some kind of extra bonus thing for doing that, but like it doesn't do a good job of explaining that that's what happens. You have to cycle through your weapons once you do that to do this, and like you kind of have to figure out some of the controls and stuff on your own. There's not like a very good training or anything for this. You have to either look it up or like figure it out on the fly. But still, there's a lot in here. Again, they already went through so much work to remake the main game. The idea that they didn't just try to do something similar with the other multiplayer and actually make a totally new multiplayer with story mode stuff and controls that are this good. Really, really impressed. Also, this is probably why the gun sections are as good as they are in the main games, because they built them around this. So, it's, yeah, I'm, just generally speaking, very, very, very impressed with this remake. Holy shit, I usually don't even like remakes that much. Alright, so that's the lowdown on the stuff. Sorry, I'm not perfect at it, but there was a lot of things to talk about. I had lots of notes. Hopefully, the written one is a little better than that. But basically, what this comes down to is like recommendations. Let's just go into them. Let's just do them, okay? So, if you're looking at the good old original Conker's Bad Fur Day on the N64, this is for people who already have a Nintendo 64, pretty much, right? And even then, this game, as far as I know, is still rather expensive. This one was pretty expensive, even though it's not even necessarily the best, in the best shape. I think I got this tag on the front off or whatever, but the back thing, that Blockbuster sticker, maybe would have looked better than that. If you're a huge Nintendo 64 fan, you don't need me to tell you to get this. If you don't already have the game, like you want to just play the game, this isn't what you want to do, right? It's going to be expensive and difficult to get this, and this Nintendo 64 that's in good condition, and a controller, and getting it to work on, either getting a TV it will work on natively, or getting some kind of way to make it work on a modern TV. This is just for hardcore people, hardcore N64 fans, people who want to play the old original stuff, and people who don't need you to recommend it to them because they already know they want to do it. For Rare Replay, I think this version is where most people will want to go to experience the original game without having to pay an assload of money and have it be really difficult to do. It plays, like the original game does, maybe like slightly better, it's slightly enhanced in a couple of ways, but it's not censored, it doesn't change really anything that's actually in the main game stuff. And again, it's cheaper, it's easier to get your hands on. You can play it on Xbox One, you can play it on Xbox Series X/S. You can play this game on more stuff that's more modern. It's easier to come by. Anybody who wants to play the original game, I would probably recommend them just going for this one, just for the fact that it's cheaper and easier. It's more accessible. And I don't feel like you're really losing anything significant unless you really want the feel of the N64 controller. And let's be honest, most people out there are not me. They don't want that. They don't care if they don't have that. So, yeah, this would be my recommendation for that. I don't have a physical one of it. Conker Live and Reloaded is the one I would recommend for general audiences. Basically, if you have any interest in playing this, Conker's Bad Fur Day in general, I think Live and Reloaded is great. It's just the camera and the controls, the reworked, visuals. Visually, people, I know a lot of times don't like N64 games. You'll like the way this looks a lot better. General audiences are going to eat this up a lot more. And yeah, it's a little more censored, but I don't think you really lose anything all that significant. And when you consider all the stuff you do get in it, for how much more just enjoyable and fun it is to play, I definitely have to recommend this version. This might be the best version of the game still. And also it's widely available thanks to the backwards compatibility stuff. So now if you have an Xbox or an Xbox 360 or an Xbox One or an Xbox Series X/S, you can play this game. It's that accessible. It's hard to knock it, and I don't even think it's that expensive. It's hard to say much against this game, other than that racing thing is weird, and I guess if you don't like the multiplayer mode stuff, I mean, if you really prefer the original multiplayer to this multiplayer, that's maybe a point of contention worth, if you're going to actually play with people, that might be worth something. But as far as playing the main game, I would say most people just grab Conker Live and Reloaded. It's actually really good. Even though the name doesn't necessarily make it sound like it's the same game. It is. So that's hopefully the last time I'll be talking about Conker's Bad Fur Day, unless, we get another remake, I guess. I doubt it, but maybe. And I don't think there's any other Conker games that I know about either, other than, I've already done Pocket Tales, sort of, so I don't know. Don't tell me to do Project Spark in the comments, because I don't know if that's even still alive, and I don't really know what it is. But if there's anything else you want to see me play or whatever, if you want to see me review, maybe something similar, I don't know, leave that in the comments. Also, which version is your favorite? Which version of Conker's Bad Fur Day is your favorite, and why? I'll happily be disagreed with and told that I am wrong in the comments if you wish. But this is a lot longer than I thought it would be. I don't know if I'm saving this for a special landmark episode or not, but I just, I'm I don't know. I feel pretty happy. And like to give you an idea, I edited the live stream highlights of the original game while playing through the Rare Replay one, and then immediately played this right after. So I've had a good fill of Conker's Bad Fur Day for a while, and I think I've milked this for enough reviews until something significant happens. So please, please stop. Comment please stop to me. This is a video for future Sam watching this. Stop talking about Conker's Bad Fur Day. It started real person reviews. I get it. You had a lot to say about it. You had a lot to say about it again, and you had a lot to say about the remake and remaster. You said enough stuff. Shut up. Nobody cares.
Asshole, I hate that.